I'm going to be removing the crankcase breather. It's often neglected on these XK engines. People don't realise what's behind there. It's very important. It has it just has I think it's brass. There's like a brass filter behind. What happens is, obviously we've got a huge sort of turbulence in the bottom of the end. Obviously the pistons are furiously going up and down. What people don't realise is, obviously above the top of the pistons you've got the valves opening and closing, and as the pistons are thrashing up and down, the pressure gets released obviously through the valves. Obviously at the bottom there's a huge amount of turbulence, and you know, the pistons are smashing up and down. It does push pressure downwards and there's nowhere for it to escape, so it goes into the sump casing, into the bottom of the crank casing, into the sump, and it creates a huge amount of pressure, and that pressure comes up the front of the timing chain gear, and it actually comes out of that. Let's just zoom in slightly. There we go. It comes out of this hole here, which is rubber. There's a filter behind, and then we have a pipe which I've already removed a few days ago. The pipe, it's about an inch, 25 mil, something like this. The pipe comes down and underneath the it just goes underneath the leads, and it joins into the it's fed directly back into the it goes along here, goes into the air intake. It bypasses the airflow meter, and it just goes literally into the throttle butterfly down here. So any sort of fumes or get sucked back in there, and they're quite hot, but it does gunge up in here, gunges up quite severely. And I don't know when's the last time this has been taken out, and to be honest with you, it might never have been taken out for all I know. So let's just I've already undone most of the nuts. Well, actually I've undone them all, and they're about, I think they're 13 millimeters. No, they're not, they're 11 millimeters. It's just take this glove off, it's a bit clumsy. And all you literally do, you just clean it in a solvent, and you can refit this. You just clean everything out in a solvent. I'm going to use white spirit, but you can use paraffin. There we go. It's a copper washer. Just lift this front off. It's not too bad actually. That could be a lot worse. It's clearly been cleaned at some point, but there's if I can get, there we go. Just pop that down here, and I'll remove the brass filter. Oh, come on, there we go. That's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad. That's certainly been cleaned at some point. But there are gaskets. This has got a gasket, and then there's a gasket against the cylinder head there. I've got brand new gaskets, so all I'll do, I'll clean this in white spirit, clean that mess in white spirit, and I'll take the rubber. I forget what that's called, but the nickname, like a Dalek. It looks like a Dalek out of Doctor Who, but that's absolutely filthy. But I don't think it's got any holes in it. You can buy a new one for about 12-14 quid, but I'm hoping to reuse that, but we'll see. I'm just going to clean that, and I'm going to remove the cam covers, strip the cam covers, paint them, and I'll probably repaint if this looks a bit, I don't know, does it need painting or not? Perhaps not. If it doesn't need painting, I'll leave it original, but when I've cleaned it I'll be able to tell. So it's just one of those essential jobs on a Jaguar XK engine. Let me take these gloves off. Get these gloves off. I don't want to touch the camera with filthy gloves. There we go. But as you saw when that one came out, it wasn't in too bad a condition, but it is possible for this gauze to become completely blocked. And I've had one in the past where it was completely blocked and pressure was not coming through. The pressure in the crankcase was so huge, it had nowhere to go. It was gold blocked. There was about 10 millimeter thick of grease and grime and gunge, and this was a long time ago on an old 4.2 Series 2, I think. And it creates such massive pressure in the crankcase. What happens is the valve guides start to leak, and the oil is then pressed. It's all forced up the side of the valve guides. It's got to go somewhere, and they're only rubber, and so it forces massive amounts of oil up the side, and it's burnt off in the exhaust, and you get an enormous plumes and plumes and plumes of smoke. That particular engine was burning around about 5 litres of oil in 100 miles, and of course I thought the engine was knackered. I thought the bores were worn and all the rest of it, but it was a blocked filter. and the you know, it's a 5-minute job, and the gaskets are about £1, so there's no reason not to do it. And once I'd cleaned that out, the engine stopped burning oil, and the pressure came, you know, through the route it's supposed to go, rather than being forced up the side of the valve. So I'm not going to clean it on camera because it's an obvious job. It's a dirty job, and what I'm going to do in the next hour, I'm going to remove the thermostat, I'm going to remove the cam covers, I'm going to strip them, paint them, new gaskets all round, and I'll probably make separate films for taking those off. But this one was really about, I think it's called a PCV, but I could be wrong. But it's a crankcase breather. That's what it is.